Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably can guess, NXT features, of course, Stephanie Vaquer. As you all know, she's now a double champion, the first ever in NXT. But she's now put in a very, very difficult challenge. She will have to defend both championships separately on two different timings on one day. As you know, she will be defending the NXT Championship against Jada Parker, and then in the main event, she faces Fallon Henley, who is the former NXT North American Women's Champion. Well, of course, that's going to be a little difficult, but the real question, can she handle it? We just got to wait and see until then. And then, of course, we move on with some other, of course, reviews. The first one is going to be ChocoPro with their latest event with number 436, featuring many matches. So, nothing too special about it, but of course, we do see some fun matches. And then we move on with MARIGOLD's much recent event as we continue with the Spring Victory Series. As you know, some matches are preliminary matches taking place. Don't forget, Utami Ayashida will defend the world title against Bozilla. And then finally, to cap up our episode, we will go with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world. Pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to give you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all pleasantries need to be said. It's time to get this court into order. So let's begin with our very first review, and this one is from ChocoPro. Okay, ChocoPro number 436. This took place recently on the 22nd of March. Now, make a note here for everybody to know, Balinaki and Mei Shurugo were not present at this show, or should I say, were not even in country when this was happening. If you guys probably want to know where they're at, well, they're in India, in case anybody asks, doing a little ChocoPro in India type of thing. So it's a lot of fun. But anyway, this show opened up with Emi Sakura, of course, greeting the fans, giving the infos of the matches. But let's begin with the first match. Our first match, we have tag team action. We have Shin Dragon, consisting of Shin Suzuki and Chon Chiru, taking on Kaho Hiromi and Hagane Shino. So you probably can guess how this was going to go because A, we know that Shin and Chon are in fact a stable team because don't forget they were former Asian Dream Tag Team champions, but they had to relinquish the belts after Shin was injured during a match. But as always, I felt like they haven't missed a step one way or the other. But when it comes to Kaho and Hagane, they're in fact a makeshift team. They have teamed up before in trios setting, but this is the first time they team up. Now, you probably can guess Takaha's childish ways. It will be a factor to play out, but it was not. Apparently, she ended up being schoolboy by Shin, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Next up, we have another tag team match. We have Hiroyi Yawada teaming up with Evolution's very own Soy to take on the sisters, Nonaka Seto and Miya Yatsuba. Now, personally, when I thought about this match, I thought, okay, the sisters will win because A, they have a little bit more experience than both Hiroyi and Soy combined. So that's always been one thing in my opinion because I think Miya has like about maybe 2.5 years of experience. Nonaka Seto about um maybe 1.5 or so. But that's one of the things that kind of got me thinking. But however, I did not expect for Hiroi and Soy to pick up the win. I thought they were going to lose because somehow they were able to separate Mia from her sister. Um, Hiroi took care of that, but it was a Soy who did a running diving body press onto, of course, onto Noroka, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now our next match, this one was a very interesting one. We have teacher versus student. Chiko Shikawa versus Emi Sakura. Now, I have to say this was a good, perfect tool for Chi since A, she'll be facing Mei Shiruga for the Super Asian Dream Championship. So she has to face against a former champion, the one that Mei Shiruga defeated for. So you would think that Chi would somehow overcome everything, but Emi Sakura is well known what Chiko Shikawa's, how to say, her strengths and weaknesses. Don't forget, she was the one who trained her. So I wasn't too sure where this was going to go until, unfortunately, this match ended in a 15-minute time limit draw. So the real question is, how mentally prepared is Chi to face May for the title? That's going to be a good question. So we will find out. And as for our Jonkin tournament, our winner is none other than Soy, who defeated Kaho in it. So that's how things ended. So if there's anything else going on in ChocoPro, I'll let you guys know. But right now, let's move on with Marigold. Okay, Marigold. This is day 6 of their Spring Victory Series. This took place recently on the 23rd of March, but it was not broadcast onto Wrestle Universe until the 26th of March. Now remember, we still have some preliminary matches taking place for an upcoming event later on by the end of this month. Now we'll get to that in a bit. Our first match, we have Ryoko Satomura taking on Kizuna Tanaka, as you all know, who made her return to pro wrestling after being injured and took a necessary rest to recover. And I have to say, she hasn't skipped a beat one way or the other. I mean, I'm sure she's been training to get back on, in fighting shape, which of course is a good thing. Now, however, when it comes to her being out, many people ask how is her ring rust. Well, that is a very good observational question. I have to say, she did pretty good. She was able to pick up the win on her when she applied a Fujiwara armbar, and just like that, Ryoko had no choice but to tap. Now, our next match, well, this was a very interesting one. We have, of course, I really hate that. Anyway, we have Riara taking on Megaton. Now, of course, Megaton is, of course, as a full-time member of the Marigold roster, was going to win because, however, who knows what she was going to do. Riara even brought her beverage with her. I don't know what kind, but it kind of did to help a little bit. But it was, of course, Megaton with a diving body press that allowed her to win. 1, 2, 3, over. Our next match, we have Gigaton taking on Yuki Minami. Now, of course, Gigaton, she's like a evil demon of Gene Simmons' niece or something. I don't know. Once again, with her usual tactics. However, this time she took it way too far when, of course, bringing out some objects that would put her in disqualification. Now, as you know, referees are assigned to make sure the match goes smoothly as possible. But however, Gigaton decided to cross the line by attacking the referee, and then the referee called it. So basically, by disqualification, Yuki Minami picked up the win. But of course, Gigaton continues to assault her with her weapons. So basically, Yuki Minami may have walked away with the win, but she's going to be leaving with some pain from the weapons that Gigaton used on her. Now, our next match, we have Chika Goto and Matsumi Shozuki taking on the former United National Champion Miku Ono, and she teams up with the current United National Champion Mai Sakurai. So interesting enough, nothing too special about it. No storyline developed between both sides, but of course it was a pretty good match. But however, it was of course Ano with the buzzsaw kick onto Chika Goto, and just like that, she was knocked out. 1, 2, 3. It was over. Now, our next match, we have our main event, and this is part of the preliminary match. Darkness Revolution, consisting of Mitsa Matsui, Chiaki, Nagisa Nozaki, and Bozilla, taking on Rhea Seto, Victoria Yuzuki, Mirai, and of course our current Marigold World Champion, Utami Ayashida. Now, of course, many factors of this match, as you probably would expect. Utami is defending her world title against Bozilla, so that's obviously. But how would this match become part of the crucial for the momentum between these two? Well, in the end, of course, it was Mitsa Matsui who picked up the victory on Rhea Seto. She applied like a somewhat version of the Star Crusher from Kamitani, and that pretty much gave the way to pick up the win. However, of course, when it comes to winning the match, Mitsa Matsui did a promo, but Utami Ayashida, as you probably can guess, well, um, she's not going to back down from anybody, and she's not going to say that she's afraid of her, even though Bozilla claims that she is, but we'll see what that happens down the road. So I think that's pretty much it with Marigold. Now, I'm not sure how much further we will continue with their victory, with the Spring Victory Series, but we do know they have a big match coming up real soon by the end of this month. So we'll just stay tuned for that. But so right now, let's move on to our last and final review, and that is NXT. All right, our final review, NXT. We opened up with championship match. The NXT Women's Championship is on the line. Stephanie Vaquer defends her championship against Jada Parker. Now remember, ever since Jada Parker decided to jump into the action to claim what it rightfully is hers, well, she stepped up against Stephanie Vaquer. However, of course, Stephanie Vaquer later on in the main event has to defend her other belt, the Women's North American Championship. But the real question is, how will she survive against Jada Parker? I mean, Jada Parker is a strong individual, but however, apparently Jada Parker's actions from last week apparently caught up with her, and of course, that action is Jordynne Grace. As you know, Jordynne Grace wanted to have a shot against Stephanie Vaquer, but Jada Parker's like, nope, ain't gonna happen. But that cost her dearly until, of course, until Stephanie actually pinned her with the roll up, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, we did see, of course, Jordynne Grace and Jada Parker hash it out. Of course, Jada Parker's going to blame it on Jordynne for what happened. But however, while that was happening, the Fatal Influence initially attacked Stephanie Vaquer to soften her up before the main event, which of course Finley thought that maybe this would be the perfect opportunity to regain her. But the real question does go, what's going to happen till then? I mean, Ava is not happy with how things have turned out. She knew something like this was going to go wrong, but Stephanie doesn't care. Now, Trick Williams and Javon Evans, as you know, continue with their little bickering As you know, Javon Evans, you probably can guess, he's the kind of guy who doesn't need mentors to help him around. So he wants people to notice him. And of course, Trick will acknowledge him, but he feels that he's not yet ready to step up the game just yet. But we'll see how things will go. But however, Javon Evans has some bigger fish to fry against, of course, none other than Lexis King. Now, of course, things have gone a little crazy with the women's tag team division. As you probably can guess, we did see, of course, what's their name? Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley confront the Meta Girls, Jakar Jackson and Lash Legend, and then Soruka and Zarya showed up too. So basically, you can guess how the women's division is. The real question is who's going to be the tag team that'll bring in the WWE Women's Tag Team titles back to NXT. I think that's a real strong question we have to ask ourselves down the road for it. Now, we did see an interview with Vic Joseph talking to Ricky Saints. As you know, his presence have caused a stir amongst everybody. As you know, Ricky Saints knows that everybody don't want him there because he's an outsider. Of course, he's acknowledging that. And then of course he talks about his self-confidence, how people often said, that's a threat right there to him. Now, while Vic was trying to do his interview, apparently he was interrupted by Shawn Spears, someone that he's known from his past. So as you can guess, Shawn Spears feel that he will never be at the top. Basically, he thinks that he made a wrong move appearing in NXT, but Ricky Saints, he's not backing down, even if, of course, Shawn Spears has the calling behind him. But we'll see where that goes. But however, of course, Ricky Saints' presence did not turned away. Remember, Wesley is not too thrilled with him being there. Of course, Wesley thinks that he's not going to last long. Don't count out the resilience from Ricky Starks. We know how resilient he can be. And that's going to be Wesley's downfall right there. Now, while that was happening, as you probably can guess, Ethan Page was watching this and then later got in the face of of Andre Chase, Kale Dixon, and of course, Mariah Connor. So later we will see, of course, Ethan Page and Andre Chase challenge each other. Now, as you know, Hank and Tank are trying to get themselves back on top. So they were giving themselves a little pep talk to get them motivated until they run in against another team that's been well recognized in the tag team world, and that is, of course, the Motor City Machine Guns. Yep, that's right. So they were watching the match. Now, they face against, of course, Tyson DuPont and Tariq Igwe. Now, it's not the first time these two teams have confronted each other. So that kind of the thing that makes them who they are. However, of course, Wesley was going to be there, and he was going to make sure that Tyson DuPont and Igwe get the recognition they get because they are hoping that they will win the NXT tag team belts. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, Ava, as you know, is concerned over the well-being of Stephanie Vaquer. Tried to reason with her, but Stephanie was not backing down, no matter what Ava was saying. So that is something has been showing that she does not back down from anything or from anyone. So that's a bit of resilience right there. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Javon Evans taking on Lexis King. However, before anything else, we did see Fraxium having an interview until Obafemi showed up. But however, during this match, Javon Evans and Lexis King, things would have gone either way. But however, Obafemi showed up and power bombed Javon Evans at the apron of the ring, causing the match to go into, of course, by countout. But of course, this not ends well until Dark State showed up out of the blue, and then Trick Williams showed up trying to deal his issues towards Obafemi. So you can say that all hell is breaking loose when it comes to Dark State. Now, our next match, we have Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan taking on the Meta Girls, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. However, of course, this match was caught in the eyes of none other than Soruka and Zarya. So we don't know what the extent is going to go. But you can guess that these two teams are fighting to hope for a shot of the WWE Women's Tag Team belts. But towards the end, it was, of course, the cemetery drive onto Jakara Jackson that allowed for Gigi and Tatum to pick up the win just like that. 1, 2, 3. it was over. Now, the D'Angelo family had an interview, of course. As you know, they dealt with the calling, but right now, the only thing they are in their minds, the Don of NXT, Tony D'Angelo, wants to deal with the Dark State after what they pulled last week. However, of course, Tony D'Angelo is concerned over Stacks about the way he's behaving. Deep down, I think Stacks is like feeling a lot of blame in himself after what happened. I mean, with Izzy turning her back on the D'Angelo family, all of that. I'm not sure if the Don is realizing that something is mostly wrong with Stacks. Of course, he trusts him, but he's worried about his judgment. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, Hank and Tank were talking with the Motor City Machine Guns, as you know, getting some words of wisdom from one of the best tag teams in the world. So they know they can pull off, they have something special, but all they need to do is build it up. And that's exactly what they need to do. So hopefully down the road, Hank and Tank can get the real footing. So we just gotta wait and see what happens. Now, our next match, we have Ethan Page versus Andre Chase. But however, before Andre Chase actually made his way to the ring, Ricky Saints made his way to the commentary booth. Tried to entice Ethan Page no matter what, because as you know, we can say that Ethan Page is a hypocrite. He's calling Ricky Starks an outsider. Ricky Saints an outsider. Newsflash, Ethan, you're an outsider too. Not too long ago. So basically, he's trying to say that his past doesn't justify what he does now. But however, of course, Ethan Page did walk away with the win when he applied the cutter. And then, of course, you did see the eye-to-eye face between Ethan Page and Ricky Saints until the Calling showed up and attacked Ricky Saints. Because the Calling thinks they have everything under their control. Well, sooner or later, Ricky Saints will take away the North American Championship away from Shawn Spears. We just got to wait and see what happens. Now, for our main event, we have the NXT Women's North American title. Stephanie Vaquer makes her second match of the night, taking on the former champion, the one who she beat for this belt, Fallon Henley. Now, Stephanie Vaquer is not an idiot. She knows wherever Fallon Henley goes, Tweedledee and Tweedledum will be right there watching. We're talking about Jasmine Nix and Jay-Z Jane. But you would think that Stephanie is going to try to wipe them out to ensure things will go her way, and that's exactly what she did. Until Stephanie applied the SVB onto her, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, of course, the Fatal Influence were not too pleased with how this match ended. They tried to wipe her out until Jordynne Grace showed up, and you all know what's going on. Jordynne Grace wants a shot of the belt, but of course, you got to remember, Jada Parker will not forgive Jordynne Grace for causing her what she did. Well, that's only time to tell what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens next week until then. But as of right now, we are officially done with our reviews. Let's move on to our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin, as always, with upcoming events with the promotion, starting with GCW. Now, there was a recent update with the two events that will happen back to back. Now, there is the Chicago event on the 29th of March in Chicago, and then there's the St. Louis on the 30th. Apparently, due to scheduling conflicts, the match between Mega Bane and Zeta Steel was supposed to take place on the 29th. However, it was later moved to a Saturday event to St. Louis. So basically, the match between Zeta Steel and Mega Bane will take place at America's Most Wanted on the 30th, while the match with Matt Tremont and Otis Cogar will take place the following day in Chicago. So that's pretty much what the changes they made. However, they did mention that Blake Christian makes his return to GCW on the America's Most Wanted show on the 30th in St. Louis. Now, we do have, of course, the Philly special on the 6th of April. They announced Ashley Voss will be also appearing. And then we have the Bloodsport event taking place in the Las Vegas WrestleMania weekend on the 17th of April. NXT's very own Charlie Dempsey will be participating. And then finally, we have the LA show on the 3rd of May. Crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. They announced Alex Hammerstone will also be there too. And then, of course, we have the House of Glory updates. Three things have been announced. We have the Isolation event taking place on the 25th of April. They announced the debut of the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita. So, yes, he'll be making his in ring debut with House of Glory. And then, of course, we have the Raging War event taking place on May 9th in Chicago. They announced that, of course, Rich Swann will be there. So that's going to be interesting. Now, another interesting has been announced, and no date has been. If there's any new information about this, I'll let you guys know as soon as possible. They announced that they will be debuting in Orlando, Florida. Now, not much information has been around what it's going to be. I'll let you guys know as soon as possible. Now, as you all know, Booker T has a promotion and a wrestling school called The Reality of Wrestling, and their upcoming event will take place on the 30th of March. Anyway, two matches have been announced, and they involve wrestlers coming from NXT. We have Jay-Z Jane from NXT taking on Gigi Ray. And then we have Eli Knight taking on Wesley from NXT. So, two talents from NXT will be making their appearances right there. And then, of course, we have the Wrestling Revolver show. We did that. That will take place on the 5th of April in Chicago. The world title will be defended. Myron Reed will defend his belt against BDE, somewhere around there, yeah. And then Prestige Wrestling for the Roseland event. That'll take place on the 12th of April. Azumi will be making her debut from Stardom, and she'll be facing against Hyan. Now, as you all know, Dragon Gate will be having their Las Vegas shows taking place on the 16th and the 18th. However, two matches have been announced on two separate days and involves, of course, talent with Stardom. On the 16th, Starlight Kid will team up with Azumi to take on Natsuko Tora and Konami of Hate. And then on the 18th, we have the current Goddess Tag Team Champions, Wingori, Hanan, and Saida taking on Charisma and Hyan. And then, as you know, another Texas promotion will be participating in Las Vegas, New Texas Pro Wrestling, for Texas Hold'em on the 18th in Las Vegas, and they announced WWID's very own Kylie Ray will be participating. And then finally, Evolution will have their upcoming event near the end of April on the 28th. Hiroyo Matsumoto will team up once again with Zones to take on Chi-Chi and Mika Iwata. So that's going to be interesting. Now on to our developments here. Well, many of you may have heard recently there is a brand new La Parka in AAA. Now, there have been two other La Parkas. The first one is, of course, the current LA Park. As you all know, he was the original La Parka. But when he left to be here in the States during WCW time, he was no longer allowed to call La Parka when he made his return to Mexico. Another La Parka took over that name, and that was the one La Parka that we all loved and enjoyed, with his ways until his passing. However, another La Parka has been making appearances, and this one was a very interesting one. Vampiro brought him back to the dead, and apparently they identify who he is. Now, not the real name for anybody that asked. It turned out he had another ring name, and he was known as Brazo de Oro Jr., which means the golden arm, the Jr. Basically, his dad was a wrestler. Those who know this guy, Brazo de Oro Jr., is related to Psycho Clown. So yeah, they are a big wrestling family. And then finally, Fightful Select reports about Mariah May about the contract year. So basically, her contract with AEW will soon be expired. Now, I'm sure many people will definitely say we want to see her go to WWE. We still don't know what she's going to do after this, but we'll stay close to it. Now, finally, many of you may have been shocked about what happened hearing names that were released from TNA, especially from the backstage area. Amongst them, of course, was Gail Kim, which was really surprising. But let me pull out the statement that they mentioned. Let's see. I don't know how to here? Oh, here it is. This is coming from, of course, Anthem Sports Group President Carlos Silva regarding about it. So this is what he said. Today we have restructuring resulting in staffing changes at TNA Wrestling. These decisions are always difficult, but it became apparent that we needed to make adjustments to our business strategies. We are grateful for those who work here and thank them for the years of dedication to the company. Finally, we want our fans to know we are committed to producing an absolute best product in the highest quality content that we can, and we appreciate their continued support. And this was reported from PW Insider. Now, I don't know about firing Gail Kim. That's the one thing I don't feel comfortable with. But I'm sure many people are saying possibly WWE or AEW will probably pick her up. That I would say that could be the possibility. But we'll just wait and see what happens. We're yet to hear from Gail Kim what she has to say. I'm sure that many of her fans are saddened for her and all that, but we'll see. But as of right now, we are done with everything, so let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Dynamite and possibly WWE Evolved. Well, I this time I do remember last week I messed up, so I may have to do just those two. But if there's any other events that I'm gonna have to review, I'll probably do them as soon as if I get a chance, because I'm not sure how, because things in my personal life kind of coincide in certain things. But we'll see if we can make it work. So we'll see what happens. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye and have a nice day. Bang.